And so what I can say is, number one, you listen to a lot of right-leaning media. So your echo chamber is going to produce a certain type of material. And I say that because, as you know, I have two separate computer setups where I have right-leaning material on one side and left on the other side. And I'm saying that to say I've heard these interviews where it's like, why are you voting for Kamala? Well, I just don't like that other guy. And it sounds like, well, what's that mean? But I've also seen, hey, why are you voting for Trump? I mean, hey, he's for America. What are you against DEI? Yeah, I hate DEI. What does it stand for? I don't really know, but I know it's bad. So you get that. So we can look at that and let's say, okay, let's just push that out the way, right? Because people, this ain't edited. But other people with a lot of these videos that we see, they edit and they put the ones that push the agenda that they want to with that video, right? We can agree on that.
Yeah.
Okay. So with that out the way, let's talk about the tribalism. It's the same on both sides as well. There are people that are lifelong Republicans that have been on camera saying, I don't like Trump. I hate Trump. I hate to bring it up, but J.D. Vance at one point was talking about Trump being Hitler. Plenty of people don't like Trump. However, they're lifelong Republicans, and they're not going to go against the party because of one person that's in the seat right now. They're not going to go against the party because of some of the policies that the party is producing right now. They won't even go against the party when it don't look like the party that they joined. That's both sides. That's both sides. We talked about that the first time you were on when we talked about Crips and Bloods. The same thing. Like, yeah, if you a Blood, and yeah, they doing some things, they going to run down on some people that you really like. Why are we even doing this, bro? That's his grandma's house. Like, come on. You're not going to just stop and go be a Crip now. I'm done with y'all. Y'all ain't, come on. You're going to still do. So I'm saying all that to say it's very easy just to point the finger and go, well, they do this and they do that and they do this. But one thing I can say from watching both sides is you had both. You had people that were Republicans that were like, I don't like Trump, but I'm voting Republican. You had people that were Republican that said, I love Trump and I'm voting Republican. You had people that were like, I'm a lifelong Republican. I'm voting Democrat because I can't do that. And you had those same types of people on both sides. And what I'm asking you now, though, is back to my original question. Because of that, we saw a split in the numbers. So what from all that gives you this feeling that 80 to 90% of America, as you said, the average American wanted something like Trump, if the numbers don't show that?
The reason is because like it's just like in the hood. Like a lot of times people vote against their own. Like I kind of explained it. Like Christian people with Christian values will vote against their own interests just to prove that they're not with this fascist, racist, Nazi person. I can agree with this policy. Like I said, I don't want kids being taught about sex education at 3 years old. I don't want my kid thinking that my son thinking that he's a girl. I don't want my teachers hiding behind, my back teaching them this stuff. But I will vote for the party that solely supports that. I don't want women in men's. I don't want women in men's sports or men in women's sports or men going in women's restrooms. I never would agree with that. But I will vote against my own natural what my lifestyle is. I will vote against it to prove a point. And nowadays, this is the time of activism. It's not. I don't have to be true. I don't have to align with anything. I'm just an activist. I think I'm doing the right thing because I was told this was the right thing. My grandma said, my uncle said. I get validated from these Democrats on the side. A lot of them, like I said, are Christian people, but they vote against their own interests. So it's like if you vote against your own interests, what is it? I can only come up to one assumption: like you really don't care about politics. You want to make a statement. Because, like I said, when you ask these people a question like, why are you voting for this person? When you're a Christian and you know that the Bible doesn't basically totally against this. It's totally against it. How can you vote this? How can you vote this? Because the Democrats didn't say anything about it being bad. They never said anything about what the country was turning to being bad at all. They just kept going with it. And as long as you let them, they was gonna keep going with it. And to me, it strikes me to me is mentally disturbing saying that Trump literally had to sign an executive order to say men cannot compete in women's sports. Why do you need an executive order? I thought that was a normal thing, but the Democrats wouldn't do it because they have 4 years of it. They never cared. This was going to be normalized. You're going to have to accept it and deal with it, even though, like I said, even people on the Democratic side, because this is most of the time we could agree with this. They don't agree with that. They don't agree with it. But it was never going to get voted out unless you did something about it. You can't keep voting for the same people and expecting different results. They never talked about it. That wasn't a part of their policies. So that's how I come up with the assumption that even though it was split in the middle, a lot of these people will vote against their own interests, even if it doesn't benefit them. Doesn't matter.
Okay, so let's explore that. You said they will continue to vote against their own interests.
Yes.
I've positioned to you that I've heard both sides speak to the fact that the way that their party is moving, they don't agree with. However, they have a stronger disagreement with something that the other side is doing, right? You said they're voting against their interests. Would you agree that there isn't a singular party, especially in a two-party system for millions upon millions upon millions of people, that two parties have a chance to completely be in favor of someone's interests?
I would say you're not going to agree with 100% of everything somebody does for sure.
Thank you.
But when I speak of core values and religion, like I mean, it's hard
No,
to
no,
you can't even.
I hear you. I hear you.
Yeah.
And so that's another thing, because voting politically and voting your religion, some people look at those things different. There is a separation of church and state, and some people do honor that in a different way, right? Because not all of my spiritual beliefs have to be what I want to inflict on all the people in my community. Because as Americans, we have the freedom, right, to worship as we may. We don't have to worship God. We don't have to worship the Bible, right? That's why
Right.
we have a separation.
But when you got minor attracted persons, we going from LGBTQ, fine, you got rights,
Mhm.
to I want to speak to your kids. You got drag queen story hour.